Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies. I am your host today, and our guests today are the Cavs. I love you guys. I was listening to your album. It's really cool, like being in Indie's rock outfit, right? Obviously, you're from Manchester, which is really, really cool. This is what I love about doing this podcast. Obviously, we get to interview people all over the world. I heard your live shows are super energetic and an engaging experience, and you keep the audience hooked, which is awesome. So I'm excited to have Chris, the lead guitarist of the band here. So welcome to Music Junkies, Chris.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So before I get started, I always am curious about how your experience was putting your playlist together for me today.
I think with any sort of decision that has to be made by 5 different people, it's never the easiest. But I think it was one of the easier things we have done together. It's just we chose all the songs that meant something. Like every time someone shouted out a song, you're like, oh yeah, fucking hell, I forgot about that one. And you're like, oh, what about this one? And so I think although we've not been together that long, there was probably a lot of nostalgia around a lot of the choices that we went for. So yeah, it was fun. A lot of the songs we chose were because of gigs that we have done together. So yeah, it was just a very, very quick walk down memory lane.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. And you can kind of go in a little bit of a rabbit hole too. Like one song can lead to something and one song can lead to something.
Yeah.
Did you notice that when you were picking your list? Were you all kind of just staying in that age group of like 13 to 21, or were you kind of all over the place?
We were just sort of, yeah, there wasn't really a thought process. I think that speaks volumes of a lot of the decisions we try and make. There's very little thought process. We just kept throwing it, and some of it stuck. And yeah, we didn't delve down too far any rabbit holes.
That's good. That's good. So are you saying you guys aren't big thinkers? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, we're big thinkers when it's not required. When we really need to knuckle down, we're nowhere to be seen.
I love it. All right, we're going to start with your first song. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Love it.
Nessun Dorma, Nessun Dorma.
I love it. All right, so that's the first time I've ever opened up a show with kind of like an opera song. I'm like super impressed. Obviously, I want to know the story behind this.
This was my idea for a walk-on song when we played Manchester Academy 3 a couple of years ago. It was our first gig back after lockdown. It was one that we had to keep postponing. Obviously, like COVID hit hard, and we just indefinitely postponed it for a while. But as gigs were coming back, we wanted the right to, we didn't want to play to a crowd of seated people, so I just kept getting pushed back. So we were talking about, it's the first time we would have done a walk-on, because we knew there was a side stage, there was somewhere we could come where the crowd couldn't see us, and it was sort of a big deal to us. But I'd seen a video of Leicester City winning the Premier League, how long ago it was now, 6-7 years ago maybe. Yeah. And their manager at the time I'm pretty sure he was Italian, and he just happened to be friends with, I can't remember his name now. But anyway, so he did his own version of that Nessun Dorma song, and they did it to the whole crowd, and there was fireworks when they lifted the trophy at the end, and I thought, wow, that was such a good song to take that opera song and put it in the context of football, which I know you can't say they don't belong together, but they don't really go together. I'd also seen a video of Pavarotti doing it at, I think, the Italia 90 World Cup, like the preamble before the tournament started. So I really took this song and was like, we could do that. We could walk onto that. Everyone walks onto, if they walk on, everyone walks onto like Oasis or the Manchester bands, or, you know, like cool rock and roll music, which there's nothing wrong with. But I thought, let's walk onto this. And it didn't stick straight away, but I just kept pushing it. I kept pushing. I was like, I don't know. I think we could do it. I think we could do it. And it went down an absolute treat. And there's a video. I'm pretty sure we've got a video somewhere of it that my stepdad just happened to take. I had no idea that he was recording it. But I've probably watched that video quite a number of times. So if it's not on YouTube channel, we'll definitely stick it on there soon.
Yeah, make sure that you do. That would be really cool to kind of add it to, you know, obviously this little kind of series of the show as well, which would be really cool to kind of open that up for sure.
I think the best thing about that, when it crescendos and we walked on stage, part of the recording is lots of people cheering and clapping. So luckily for us, all our fans were out there cheering and clapping. But if you watch the video, it really adds to it. It makes it sound like there's a lot of people there, just because the music has got its own sort of chorus of cheers.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you were growing up, obviously in high school, what kind of music did you listen to? What was your go-to band? Did you like a lot of different music, or were you just kind of stuck in one?
I'm a couple of years older than a few of the band, and a few years older than a couple more of them. There's probably about 4 years in between us. So we didn't listen to a lot of the same stuff. But I think back end of high school, I was more into, like, my dad was into Guns N' Roses and AC/DC and Rage Against the Machine. So I was very, very, very into that. And that sort of shaped me as a young'un. But I didn't really get into music until probably after high school, when I started working, and I met a couple of slightly older than me people that were really into music. I think the first years of high school, I listened to whatever my friends were listening to, and their older siblings were listening to chart music, or there was a lot of dance music. There was a lot of donk music. There was a lot of shit. Looking back now, there was a lot of pants music that was going around on Sony Ericsson's louder than I could concentrate. So yeah, I think more so when I left school was when I got into music and started listening to like Kasabian. I got into Oasis after I left school, Libertines a little bit, Arctic Monkeys, the Cortinas a bit more.
So your parents listened to a lot of music when you were growing up?
Yeah, like I said, so my dad was probably where I was influenced as something that I would like to be musically, but my mum listened to all sorts as well. I used to love, I still get up and have a little buggy if Westlife or Boyzone comes on. Ronan Keating is a very guilty pleasure of mine. Life really is a roller coaster.
I love it. So who is your favorite lead singer 80s hair band?
80s hair band.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I've not taken much notice of the hairdos. I don't know. Just had...
Well, you talked about, you know, your dad listened to Guns N' Roses and AC/DC.
Oh, I mean, not lead singer, but Slash. Slash is my hero. He's the reason I wear a hat on stage. That, and I've got no hair. He's he shaped. I remember watching the Sweet Child of Mine video on. I'm not even sure it was YouTube. It was that long ago. It was either the early days of YouTube or just Google videos. And I remember seeing him play a Les Paul with his big curly hair and his top hat on, his sunglasses. I thought, wow, that changed me forever.
Do you remember the first song you ever learned to play on the guitar?
Yeah, I think it was my granddad that taught me. My granddad got me into guitar, and it was either some form of 12-bar blues, or it was 500 Miles by the Proclaimers.
That's awesome.
It was very, very, very simple chords.
Yeah, super simple. It's usually something super simple like Smoke on the Water, or, you know, or
yeah, well, So very similar chords as well. I think that just happened to come after the Proclaimers.
I love it. All right, here's your next song.
Under the sea.
I haven't heard that song forever by the Beatles, The Octopus Garden. Like, such an old school song. It's funny, I did a podcast the other day and this guy was obsessed with the Beatles and he didn't even have this song on there. I was pretty shocked.
Really? I'm not a massive Beatles fan, but there's a lot of songs that I really like. I've never really delved deep into the back catalogue of the Beatles. I don't think I've got time to ever do that. There's that many of them. But that's one that, again, I'd probably heard it through my granddad somewhere, sometime, and it was trying to choose a cover to do at a gig. It's always a little bit, well, we find it a little bit harder to find something where we think we don't want to play something that is an out crowd pleaser, which I know sounds a bit backwards. We want to play something that we want to play. We want to play it for the right reasons. We don't want to just throw a song in there to, like, if you're not already listening to us, you know, let's say you've just turned up to a gig and you're not digging us, then cool, that's fine. We don't want to throw out a cover just to try and grab you for a couple of minutes and then you disappear again. But Octopus's Garden was probably a mutual decision for the most part, and took us a while to learn, especially for the lead guitar. For me, that took some real. Most of the covers that we do, we can botch together in a session, in like one practice session. But for me, this is quite a few years ago now. Well, about 2 or 3 years ago. I wasn't as good as I maybe am now, and it took some actual sit down on my own. I have to practice this because I cannot play that.
Yeah, the Beatles is a tricky, you know, when anybody's copying the Beatles, right? They don't know how to read. Yeah. They're kind of just like randomly throwing their own shit together and trying to like piece that together because they're just piecing everything together, and now you're trying to find the tabs for it and all that stuff.
Tabs it's a minefield. That's the first thing I'd get rid of if I ever came into power. But no, it's what I was saying about, we don't want to just play crowd pleasers, but we were all surprised at how much of a crowd pleaser that was. And bearing in mind back then, a lot of our crowd was friends, family, grandmas, granddads, whatever. They loved it and we enjoyed playing it. So it's come back a couple of times, but we've not played that for a while. Every now and then I'll hear it on a playlist. I'm like, throw into that nostalgia of 3 years ago, and I think, wow, they were some really good gigs, and we got to play for longer. We had enough time to throw a few covers in.
Yeah, I think it's refreshing to hear. So many bands right now are just trying to be like, they're not being themselves, crowd pleasers. It's exhausting. You know, you've
got to do it. Yeah. You've got to do it. You got to play to the crowd a little bit. Like, there's no way we turn around and say we're playing this because we want to. You can stand outside if you want. That's not what we're about.
No.
But yeah, it's finding the balance of not playing the obscure B-side that no one's heard just because you want to play it, and not playing the most streamed song on Spotify because you want everyone to watch you and clap you at the end of it.
Yeah, we just came back. Punk Rock Bowling. Have you ever heard of a show called Punk Rock Bowling?
No.
It's in Vegas every year. It's been going on for about 23 years, and it's all super old school punk bands like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Bad Religion, Rancid. It's like super old school punk. It's so cool just to kind of go see that, and then just, you know, their covers that they were doing was super old school. Some crowd pleasers, but not so much. Like some songs, oh, that's really cool that they're doing Leaving on a Jet Plane. Like I would have never thought like one of them would cover a song like that. So like it wasn't like the typical song that you would hear all the time. It was still like one that you could get behind and were like excited to hear them. So
do you know what's fun about covers? Like there's quite a few people at the minute that are doing covers of. So I think it was one of the other lads. I think it might be Mike or Arthur that showed it us. A band called Black Midi. Now I only know them for one video of them like very aggressively playing all of their instruments very, very well. Like musically, I'm not sure what it was, but I think they're really, really good band. But they did a cover of Taylor Swift. I think they did Love Story. Now they have made it, I think, doing a cover like that, a band that is almost one end of the spectrum as opposed to Taylor Swift. I think hearing covers like that, like you said, I wasn't expecting them to do that. And I like the band that they did, and I really like that song. I mean, I like Taylor Swift anyway. But I just say sometimes it's cool to hear a band play a song that you think, I would never expect to play that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. When you were growing up in high school, elementary, high school, did you have any crushes on any kind of rock star girls back then?
I don't know. Sophie Ellis-Bextor probably, and I get to see her next week at the Isle of Wight Festival.
Oh, wow.
He must have brought Murder on the Dance Floor out when I must have been about 4 or 5, because every DJ at every wedding and family gathering that we went to was playing it. That and Rock DJ.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Love a
yeah,
band when you're younger and you get to go see them like later on down the road. I love that.
yeah. No, I can't. I think I probably heard more music. Oh, I probably only heard the music and never really knew what I was listening to for quite a long time. Now to this day, there's many, like, what was it, Duran Duran. I apparently know 4 or 5 Duran Duran songs, but I couldn't tell you the names. I couldn't tell you the name. You know, Simon Le Bon played us last weekend. So I think there'd have been many female artists that I'd have heard when I was younger that I just heard the song and that was it. So no, I think Sophie Ellis-Bextor is probably top of my list.
What about posters on your wall? What kind of posters did you have on your wall?
I wasn't really a posters on the wall kind of person. Again, I didn't get into music till I was after school. So
Wow.
yeah, I'd have had football posters on the wall. I did have a Guns N' Roses poster actually, but that'd have probably been the last year or so of high school. Yeah, I'm not a posters kind of person.
No? What about
No. I wish I was.
I remember growing up, well, I grew up in the 80s, so I remember growing up in the 80s and just like the amount of posters all over the place of like 5 million bands and then just bottles of Jack Daniels, empty bottles of Jack Daniels all over the place, right?
Yeah.
That was our thing.
Good old days.
Here's one of your guys' songs.
Oh God.
It's moving. So who started that song? Are you a writer as well, or are you just?
I think we're all in our own sort of writers. At that point, Elliot wrote. We've sort of changed how we write over the years, and I think we write a little bit more collectively now than we used to. But everyone has their own free time and their own spare time, so naturally everyone will have more of an idea when they come to practice the week after. That particular song, I think it was our second single, and back then we were sort of releasing the songs as we were writing them. Like, we weren't writing them very quickly and we were recording them quite cheaply. So we've learned over the years that it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort to really finish a song. But Elliot, our singer, great guitarist as well. He just happened to come a little bit too late when we only needed a singer. He plays on a few more tracks now, but then he wrote that song and we took it into practice and we all sort of put our own bits on it. And in fact, we started playing it again recently. We've not played it for a long time, but recently we've been playing it again. And we played it at Deaf Institute last Friday, where we got some students from a very, very well-known music college in Manchester. and really, really good musicians. They came and played strings for us, and they played on that song, and that is a crowd pleaser in our own set of our own songs, but we get a lot of enjoyment out of playing that song. It's one of our most simpler songs to play. There's no fucking about with me on guitar. There's no I'm trying to be Slash. There's no trying to put a really hard riff in. There's no like mad drum solo that Arthur's trying to get in, or two funky groovy bass lines by Mac. It's just fun and simple, and everyone sings along when we play it. I couldn't 100% tell you what it's about. That would have to be Elliot. I think what I take from that song is moving on from whatever it might be that you've just left behind, be it a person, be it a situation, a job, whatever. I think it's taking the bigger person approach and doing it with a bit of attitude.
Yeah, I like it. It's really good. When you guys are collaborating together, who makes final decision?
I don't know.
You guys battle it out until somebody says, all right, let's just do it.
There's definitely elements of that, but they're always going to be. I don't think you'll find a band that doesn't have that.
Yeah.
If they tell you that they don't, then they're lying. I think it depends what it is. Generally speaking, now we'll have a majority vote, and it doesn't mean that there's not some tears shed, but it just means that we do get along with things a little bit quicker now. It helps having Jamie around as well. It's a lot of the stuff that we would ponder over and debate and not agree upon for days and practices and weeks go by. We have a mediator almost, and it is right. Well, this is the system. You vote on it. The most votes wins. Obviously, it's medieval.
Yeah.
So it's still not easy, even with such a solid system in place. But I think we're more comfortable within each other now, where people can bring an idea, and I think it's easier, or how do I put it? I think if something categorically doesn't sound like it's going to work, then we will question it and we will talk it out, to put it politely. I think we're more happy now to at least try an idea to find out if it does. But yeah, it's no one person really has a say.
That's good. It's good that it's all collaborated together. Who would you say in the band is the most funniest?
If he's hungover, James McCauley, without doubt. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
Do you have a funny story that you can share about him, of something funny, ridiculous that he did?
No. No, it's just, to put it plainly, he's one of those you have to be there kind of things. I could explain to you the stuff that he says, or that we all say, and it wouldn't make any sense out of context. It barely makes sense in context. It's stupidity.
You have to have a member like that in your band. It's important.
It is. It's great for morale.
Yeah,
it really is. Everyone's got the moments. Everyone's pretty funny at the moment.
That's right.
Oh, sorry.
I did the limbo with the devil.
Good life better.
It's a great song.
It is a great song.
This was probably a collective choice of at least three of us anyway.
Yeah?
Yeah, we saw this band Manchester Academy 3 earlier this year. It feels a while ago now. It's probably only a few months. I just think it's such a great song. I don't think it does it justice if I just say it is a proper anthem of a song. I think it's so much better than just calling it an anthem. Because I think a lot of songs can get called an anthem. It depends what you make of them. But it's just got that one that you played, I think, is the single version. They've got an album version or something that had been somewhere else, but This one's a little bit longer and it's got so much more of a build to it. I think when it comes in at the end and it just punches you in the face and you just stand there and I think it sounds a bit cliche of me to say, but this is probably the one song on there when we were at that gig that has made me stand there and just bask in the glory of being at a live gig. Probably not since I was at like a Kasabian gig or a Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds gig. I don't think I've felt that way at a gig about a song since listening to one of like the big bands.
Wow.
We played a gig with them as well, but I never got chatting to them, which is really sad.
Yeah. Do you guys have any rituals before you get on stage? Do you have to have a couple drinks? Do you have to have time for yourself? What do you like to do kind of before you get on stage?
There's not really a pre-gig ritual. We'll probably go and get something to eat. We've got nothing exciting. I can only apologize. You only got my take on the whole thing, and mine's just not that exciting. Most of the time we'll go and get something to eat, and we'll probably have a beer together. I don't think it's right. We need to go and get a beer now, or this or that. It's depends where we are. It depends when we're on. It depends, the duller side to the industry we're in is a lot of the time we have to finish work early to get out so we can get down the motorway to Liverpool or Leeds or Sheffield or Nottingham. We've not been that far away yet from home. And yeah, a lot of the time it's make sure we have some tea together. It's chippy tea or a burger or just something.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of crazy stories, maybe something happened on stage or, out of control, not necessarily a fan, but just somebody in the crowd or.
There's been a couple of beer cans thrown on stage, which I think we all enjoyed. It's that looking back on videos, you think, wow, the heads that you can just see at the bottom of the video, and then a beer can goes flying and hits Mike on the chest, and you can just about make it out. You can just about make out his face, makes such a smile, thinking, oh my god, I've just had a beer can thrown at me on stage at our own gig. This is crazy. There's again not that much. We've been very fortunate, I think, that nothing too crazy has happened. Elliot had a really dodgy guitar strap for quite a while where I don't know why I didn't get one sooner. Just kept breaking mid-song and his guitar would just like swing underneath him. And we played a small festival in Earlham, which I want to say is like the outskirts of Manchester. And something happened on the sound engineer's desk and we just got cut off for some reason, or the microphone got turned off for Elliot. I don't know what happened, but Elliot just looked around at us. We heard Elliot stop singing. We all just stopped playing, and we've never done that since. We've all said, whatever happens, just keep playing until you have to stop. But we all just sort of looked at each other like, what the hell's just gone on there? And there was quite a good crowd watching as well. I think thankfully they didn't actually know the song we were playing. So as far as they're concerned, that was how it went.
Do you remember the first time being on stage and just looking into the audience and watching somebody sing your song? Do you remember how that felt?
I can't remember the first time I saw it. I usually wear sunglasses and this hat. This combo that I've got here is my gig attire. So anything past the first two people, I can't see much of. I remember it was probably actually a gig in Eccles that we did. It was this underground bar, and it was our first headline gig. I think it's top 2 of all of our lists of best gigs we've done. It was probably only our 3rd or 4th gig, maybe, and it was headliner. It probably held no more than 100 people, and we sold it out within 2 days. Which we've never sold that amount of tickets as quick as that since, not even 3 or 4 years later. And it was a room full of people that were there to see us. And we didn't have that many songs out at that point. So I think it was just Chasing the World, and maybe Moving was just coming out or had just come out. So I think that was the first time we saw people not necessarily singing the songs back to us, but the first time people were at least engaging in the songs that we were playing.
Yeah.
It probably has happened at a couple of gigs, but I can't get out of my head Deaf Institute gig last Friday, where we changed the set list up a little bit, and we finished on our first single, Chasing the World. And I think that's probably the one song that is somewhat rightfully not compared to Oasis in a such a great sense, but that's the more Manchester sounding song I think we've got.
Yeah.
And we don't ever shy away from that song being compared to the Manchester scene, because it was one of our first ones. We've sort of honed our writing since then, but it's the song that we could hear everyone in the crowd singing the riff, singing the words, arms up in the air. You could hear them almost more than you could hear us on stage. And I think that is stuck in my head still at the minute. I mean, it's only been a week, but it'll probably be another few before I forget it.
That's pretty cool though. It's got to be a cool feeling. That's my favorite of going to a show, is being able to sing with the band. And I love hearing the crowd. That's why I love anthem style music so much, because that's my favorite. I want to, yes, I'm there to see the band, but to watch the crowd and be a part of a crowd where, whether it's 3,000, 5,000, 20,000, 100,000 people singing a song, you're just like, this is freaking unfucking believable.
Yeah, it was. I think all of us turned around to each other at some point on stage and just grinned from ear to ear.
Yeah.
So we weren't expecting it. We don't expect that kind of thing. Even though the gig sold out, you don't expect people to do that. So I think that was the real first feeling of, wow, like people have actually come to see us and know our songs. We know they do.
But it's cool to see.
It is, yeah.
All right, next song. That song is called Underdog. What an interesting intro. And then obviously just how it is and how they're kind of mushing all the music together there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That, again, I think it was probably another mutual decision that we all agreed upon, probably for all the wrong reasons. I love Kasabian. They are probably my favorite band. We've played that as a cover 3 or 4 times maybe, but the last time we ever played it was our last gig, I think the week before lockdown started. And obviously it was going round a little bit, and you knew that something was on the verge of something. You didn't quite know what. We knew we were probably not going to play for at least we just thought, a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So we played a gig at a small bar, really, but it was a good little venue, and there was quite a lot of our friends came, because a lot of our friends from different works, because again they all knew we'd all been let off that day. We ended up obviously going back and furlough kicked in, but looking back at what was the start of such a bad time, it was such a good night because no one cared about anything. Everyone just cared about being there and getting pissed and just having a good time. And we had a great gig. We never usually get too drunk before we go on stage, but that was a rule. Well, that was something that we sort of spoke about after that gig, because we didn't worry about that. We went that. I was like, this is our last night of freedom as well. Yeah. And we played our whole set. Underdog wasn't in the set. We'd not practiced it for a few weeks. We had played it at the last couple of gigs, but they were a bit before that. And everyone was cheering at the end. Everyone was like loving it, like proper buzzing. You could feel it in the room. And it's probably my fault that we did it. I was like, oh man, I can't get off the stage now. That's like, here, I can't let go of this feeling right now. So I turned around to everyone. I was like, we need to do the cover of Underdog. Like, oh no, we're not practicing. I'm like, no, it'll be fine. We'll just do it. And we did do it, and it was one of the worst things we've ever done. It was shit. I think I played everything right in the completely wrong key. And I think James kept making mistakes, not really his fault, because I think I was putting him off. I think whatever he was trying to play, he just couldn't keep up with whatever I was doing. Elliot, I just think everyone got thrown off. No one played it right. It's that could have been the end of our career there if and everyone wasn't steaming out their eyeballs.
What music
Other than
out
sorry.
there? What's the music scene out there? Like, is there
What's
like, what's your music scene in Manchester? Like, is lots of the same type of music? Is it, is it easy to just kind of go out to a pub and see a band, or is it sporadic?
Definitely that. I think what you probably know about the Manchester music scene, and that it is such a scene, is probably not wrong. You can go to most bars most nights and probably catch some live music, anything from singer-songwriter stuff to covers bands to like full bands, downstairs bars, upstairs bars, big and small venues. There's all sorts. It is such a vibrant city for music, all sorts of music from all sorts of artists. I think it's you really only, unless you really branch out for finding new music, which I'm probably guilty of, not searching for as much new music as I would probably like to. I think that comes down to just being busy.
Yeah.
It is nice to get out to. In fact, we get invited to a few gigs from the promoter that we use called This Feeling. Like, they're great. So I'd say a handful of the last gigs we've been to, we've kindly been put on guest lists. So we've seen Spangled, who did Good Life Better, and we got to see them, which was great. Young girl called Megan Wynn. She's Welsh girl. She lives in Manchester, and she's really, really good. We've seen her a couple of times. Quite good friends with her. It's a good scene. We're friends with a lot of the bands that you walk into these bars and you think, oh, I'll go to this bar, that you'll probably bump into someone that and 9 times out of 10 you do, and you get chatting to the drummer from a band that you never get chatting to because they're clearing all their stuff down at the end of a gig. And I think the more we get into it, the more you find a lot of camaraderie in the whole thing. And I think when you're in your own practice room, it's us. It's us. This is going on. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to get our music out, this and that. And when you get out there and you start just dipping in with the drummer from this band or the singer from this band or whatever, it's it's quite a close-knit scene. A lot of the places we go to anyway, we probably don't cover even like a quarter of the venues that you can go to in Manchester between us.
What's one thing you absolutely just love about this career?
I think the buzz. I think the buzz you get from, like I said, like last Friday specifically, I think the buzz you can get from playing to a crowd of people that are there to watch you and to really, really take it all in with you far outweighs some of the gigs where, it happens to all of us, where you don't play to that many people, or you play to people that aren't really that arsed about you. It happens to everyone at some point. I think the buzz you get from being on stage with your mates and just enjoying it. Plus, I think as a creative, it's just such a free world of writing whatever you want.
Yeah.
It is. It's not all the time. You don't, like I said, you don't always agree on everything. But yeah, I think the freedom of being creative, because all of our jobs that we do, you're doing it for someone else, aren't you? It's the one time each week where we think, wow, yeah, we're really good at that sometimes.
Yeah. And I get to do it for myself.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't pay well, so we certainly don't like the paycheck.
All right, next song. Somewhere only we know.
I love it.
Is this like a collective song that you guys all kind of picked together, or was this an individual song that you picked on?
I think James or Elliot threw it out as again another cover idea that at the time it must have been not long after we managed to really start getting back in the band room after like lockdowns really stopped. Excuse me. I'd started playing a lot of piano. By no means good at it. I could fumble my way through our own songs, but having this piano that I think I'd driven down to Cardiff. It was like a 6 or 7 hour round trip just to buy this digital piano. That was really nice because it was the cheapest one I could find that was good. And yeah, so I was playing a lot of that. So some of the songs that we were writing had a bit of piano on, and they were led more by that than they were by me playing guitar. So that must have influenced a bit of an idea of, oh, why don't we do this song? It's got the piano in it. You can do that. I can do this. And then we listened to it, and it's one of the few times where, like I said, Octopus's Garden, I had to go away and learn it in my own time. It's put some serious effort in. This was one of the few ones where you listen to it, you find some tabs for it, or you work out the chords, and then 10 or 15 minutes later, you can get through a verse and a chorus, and you think, wow, that actually sounds a little bit like the song that we're supposed to be playing here. You think, well, why don't we just do more covers like this? But yeah, when we played that at Manchester Academy 3, everyone loved it. So a bit of contradiction, like that was the crowd pleaser, but we really wanted to play it. So it was, yeah, I really like that song. And trying to find songs that aren't stereotypical to the kind of band that you would think we are. You know, you can't help but judge someone on the first couple of songs that you listen to.
Yeah.
So I think us playing that, Somewhere Only We Know, if you'd only heard our first 2 or 3 singles or 4 singles, then you certainly wouldn't expect us to play that. And I think that's why it probably got as good a reaction as it did.
What kind of band are you guys not? Like if somebody was to, you know, a lot of people introduce, you know, obviously if you go on interviews and stuff like that, is there a way that you're like, that's not us, right? We're not a pop band. We're not a, you know what I mean? Like what kind of band are you?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say we're a pop band. I don't know. It's hard. We've got so many influences between the 5 of us in the band that it's hard for me to say we are not that band, because I think, in my opinion, personally, for me, the band that we are now is probably not where I would have thought starting a band would have taken me. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Saying that my favorite band is Kasabian, they've got a lot of electronic stuff in their music, and I think before I started the band, I would have thrown holy water at anyone that tried to bring anything electric into the band. Obviously, not guitar, but like any sort of synth. So I think it's hard to say any band that we're not, just because the other 4 have their own things where there's an element of all the stuff that we all don't think we are, that once you bring it into the band and we turn it into what we are as a band,
Yeah.
it just sort of ticks people. But yeah, I would categorically say we are not a pop band. Or at least we don't try to be anyway.
Right.
People like it will become popular. That's not my fault.
So what is coming up for the band now? Like, are you releasing some new singles right now? Did you just release some singles? What's kind of going on over the next, call it 3 months for you guys?
So again, our latest single again came out a couple of months ago. Once they come out, they just seem to disappear. Like it seems like it came out years ago. But again, came out a couple of months ago. That's still doing quite well, and that's still got a couple. I think it's got some radio play this last week, or this week. Sorry, still to come. We have been in the studio. We've recorded a couple of songs. There's no definite date of when anything's coming out, but I think we will be bringing something out soon. Again, we had to run it by everyone and have that majority vote put in place by Jamie. But yeah, no, it's musically, we've got a lot more going on at the minute. I think we've fallen victim to have a song, record a song, release a song. Oh shit, right, okay. Now we need to write another song, and it's there's a lot more writing going on.
Yeah.
There is more recording going on, and there is, again, with Jamie being here, there's a lot more of a long game put in place where I think we should be a little bit more consistent now. So
You
yeah,
guys
next
enjoy doing
month.
the singles? Like you like doing the singles opposed to doing an album, or it's just kind of organically how you guys have just did stuff?
I think the album talk is just not anything we're interested in. I think until we've got a strong stream of people that are turning up to bigger gigs, I don't think anyone's that bothered about an album. We're certainly not anyway. The EP was nice. It was good. It was nice to have 4 songs, but we've got a lot of songs that probably don't stick together enough at the minute to put onto an EP. So I think the beauty of just releasing singles at the minute is we enjoy doing it. We love writing. We love being together in the studio. Like, studio is one of the most fun things that we do. And you guys get more music more often. So it's sort of a win-win.
Yeah, the
Just
world
by
is going that way anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I look at it, and I'm just using Guns N' Roses as an example, just because you
Oh, yes, please.
are, but back then you would go buy an album and you would not necessarily be forced to listen to all those songs, but you would listen to all those songs because you paid the money to buy the album.
Yeah.
90%
My mum
of
said
the
the same
time
thing.
you loved all those songs, and then all of a sudden kind of stream field came into play. And now if I was to go buy an album, I probably only like 2 or 3 songs. The rest I feel are filler or garbage.
Yeah.
Not very
Like,
good.
no, I think you're right. It's my mum said the same thing about buying records. Like, you wanted to get your money's worth. She would
Yeah.
like meticulously scan the whole thing. She's like reading all like where it was recorded, who it was produced by, who's mixed it, the pictures, the photos that come with it, all the artwork. I think there's probably less desire to own the music, and therefore probably less desire to listen to the whole thing. I think it's very accessible now, which
Yeah, it
is
really is.
both a good and a bad thing, I think.
Yeah,
It's great for the listener, and I don't think it's as good for the artist now.
that's right.
In terms of like album releasing.
What about social media? Where can we find you on social media? Do you guys all have your own page, or do you just have something all collectively?
So we are at Cavs Band on pretty much everything. We all have our own accounts, but I wouldn't say we're all avid social mediaers. Jamie handles most of the Cavs social media now, which is probably why it's doing so well. We all used to have stabs at it over the years, and you could tell it was just non-existent. It was, oh, we're playing this gig, oh, we've played it. But I think we are realizing that it's taken us long enough. But the power of social media now, most of our gig offers come through Twitter or Instagram messages, usually within a week of having played a gig or having released the song. I think when we're at our most relevant is when we'll probably get a few offers through. We'll get loads of offers through, and it's like, oh, we've booked up for this, booked up for that. And then you start saying no to a few things because you can't do them, and then like your music's been out or you've played the gig, and then it just slowly starts to die down. But we are getting a good stream of stuff now. I think it's catch-22. If you're not playing anything, no one offers you anything, and if you are playing loads of stuff, people offer you loads of stuff, and you can't do it.
That's right. So you got any stalkers in there, or?
Just Jamie. He keeps following us around.
You get your stalkers before they come to you.
My girlfriend is at most of the gigs. I would definitely class her as a stalker. I don't want to say stalker because she's definitely not. But we had a girl come to. We played HMV in Manchester. Again, it seemed ages ago now, a month or so ago, and she came up from Gloucester, which my geography is not great, but I think it was a little bit of a trek. She came up on her own, and I could see her singing all the songs, and I went over at the end and was like, oh, like, thanks for coming up. And she said, oh, I've loved you for ages. I've never managed to get up. Like, that was amazing. I was like, oh, we're playing Deaf and Shoot in a couple of weeks. We'll put you on the guest list. And like, her eyes was like, wow. And then she came to the Deaf Institute one as well and dragged a few of her friends over and couldn't get a hotel. So they were planning to stay up all night and get the bus home at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And they successfully did that. So, like I said, I don't want to call her a stalker, but I think that's the closest thing we've got to the amount of effort that took.
That's right. Just a huge fan.
Yeah, I think it's worth an honorary mention
That's right.
rather than a restraining order.
In 4 more months, we might have to do this restraining order, but right now she's just a huge
Oh
fan.
yeah, there'll be a whole net special on it. I'll be played by Vin Diesel.
That's right. That'd be awesome. All right, your last song. You ready? I'm gonna pick it. I don't know. I'm picking this one because you laughed when I said it, so I'm hoping there's a good story to it.
I know. I think I know what it is.
Well, it's the end of the working week. I'm rushing back home quick. I'm starving. I'm for a cleanse the nose. I could eat.
This is now my husband's favorite song. So Chippy Tea, right?
Can you understand most of that? Like, I don't mean to sound rude, but where I'm from, so I'm not from Manchester, and neither is Arthur, the drummer. And there's a lot of people where we're from that, more so the older generation, that it's sort of weaned out. But a lot of people can talk like that, and some of the stronger accents, you cannot understand what they're saying. That's just a stupid song that is amazing. It's everything, you know. It's Chippy Tea. Fish and chips on a Friday was almost a religious thing when we were younger. We've seen that band at a festival we all went to last year, and they always play apparently on the Sunday at 12 o'clock, so we're all rough out our heads. And watching people sing about bookshelves at IKEA and fish and chips on a Friday just gives you a new lease of life, ready to go again for one last day. It's stupid and amazing, and it reminds me a little bit of home.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today on Music Junkies. But before I let you go, I'd love for you to leave us some words of wisdom, if you could.
Just don't worry about it. It'll probably be fine.
That's great words of wisdom. I think more people need to hear that, right? We get too excited about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And then in 3 hours later, we're not excited about it anymore. So yeah. Don't worry about it.
Play that back to me next week before we go to Isle of Wight, because I'll probably need that.
I'll just text you those words.
Well, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. That was super fun.
Yeah, thank you. I had a lot of fun with that.